The Astral Spiff channel was born on August 18th, 2020, and has consumed much of my last 5 years. I've streamed a total of 3,600 hours and edited for roughly 8,500 hours. During that time, I grew the channel from 0 to 1 million subs, and this video will serve to document that journey. The first 2 much lesser known years, and lots I've never shared about the past 3. This isn't a how to get a million subs video, but for anyone interested, there will still be a lot to learn. What this video will show is how tiny moments change the course of our entire lives, a lot of how my mind has worked, and the ups and downs of the grind. The absolute root of my channel is not in 2020, but actually spring 2019. While I was laying in my little curtained off private bed in a $30 hostel, which is a shared hotel room, in Portland, Oregon. I was scrolling Instagram when I came across a little video that literally changed the course of my life. A video that many of you have probably seen. My introduction to Sea of Thieves.
Captain!
Yeah.
No! No! Dude, we have so much shit to go! Holy fucking shit!
It's probably the most popular Sea of Thieves clip out there. And after seeing it, I've never wanted to play something more in my entire life. I spent the rest of the night watching video after video on the game, and it was actually all I could think about. There was no way I could run it on my crummy laptop though, so I convinced Noah to let me download the game on his laptop and play it at his house.
Get him up. Going for the anchor. Okay, they're anchored. No, you just go. I'm just doing this to slow them down for you to escape. I'm dead.
He had his PC as well, so we played it together, and there were nights that I'd stay until 5, 6 a.m. just to play SoT. Within a couple weeks, I scraped together my $700 of savings and bought a second-hand Alienware laptop off Kijiji so I could play. It was just after the anniversary update, so there was a lot of hype within the game. The arena was added, tall tales, and mechanic updates like knocking over sails. Nobody was very good at the game yet. It was like early Fortnite. So I joyfully spent my sessions stealing forts and griefing tall tailers.
Oh, I hear it now.
Yeah, they're up, they're up.
Yeah, they're up. They're up.
Okay, they're moving.
Yeah.
Shoot. Both dead.
Nice.
We are the protectors of the tall tale.
We couldn't actually sell this chest we stole, it had no value to us. So we'd just mess around with people, and if they were good sports, we'd give it back. It was just fun to pirate everything.
Okay, hold on.
Not the chest. What? We gotta get some distance.
This was too easy.
What do you mean it's too easy? They're gonna chase after us.
Exactly. Let them chase after us.
If my friends weren't available, I played solo, and started to realize that I wanted to record my best steals and funny interactions to show people later and to have as memories. I still have many of these clips, blowing up ships, wiping boats, and occasionally running into other really good players. I remember running into one particularly kind, but really good player named Shumba, who definitely seemed performative. So I looked up his username on the foreign to me streaming platform Twitch, and sure enough, he'd been streaming our fight. It was cool, but I had no interest in watching streams. Why would I do that when there were edited videos on YouTube I could watch instead?
He's back! Fuck him up! This is for the sick!
At this point, I mostly played solo, but that changed when I reunited with Julian after going separate ways in high school. I roped him into trying the game, and we became literally the best duo out there. I'm just gonna claim that title. We never lost Sloop v Sloop in 2019. We were so insanely sweaty, and no one was good at the game yet.
Butt ahead with another ballast. Nope, they're sunk. They're sunk. Eat shit!
Our comms were unreal, and I was stupidly obsessed with knowing everything about stats, sound effects, metas, anywhere. That's not that important. Point is, I was collecting clips I really wanted to share, but just on YouTube.
I'm gonna be hard pressed to do this one.
Oh,
I'm a god. I'm a god. In case anyone ever asks, I'm a god.
Yeah.
I am a god. I am such a god.
Son of Zeus.
I never wanted to stream because it looked boring as hell, and there was no way I could be entertaining without the curated experience of a YouTube video. At least I thought that way, until I encountered one specific streamer who would have just as big an impact on me as that first Sea of Thieves clip did.
What do you actually mean, game? Are you serious? What do you mean, bro?
Boxy Fresh. He was still pretty small when I found him, with like 300 live viewers or so. I found him off some Sea of Thieves developer stream, I think, where they'd bring on other streamers sometimes. I only listened to it because the devs would sometimes talk about updates. But Boxy Fresh had this infectious energy and brought such natural storytelling to SoT streams that watching him actually felt like watching a YouTube video. Not to mention that he was really good at the game. Probably my favorite piece of his content is still one of his first videos. Rise Up. It's nothing special, but I think it really shows how he was able to take what would normally be a nothing burger interaction and change it into a story that has kinda stuck with me forever.
Go, be a hero. Run to your boat. Earn it. I believe in you. You can do it. He's struggling with the anchor, chat. Just push through. He's cheering. Look at him, chat.
That man single-handedly changed my entire view on streaming and made me want to do it. At the time, I was house-sitting someone's 2 dogs for like 6 months, and their house had horrible Wi-Fi. The router was also in the kitchen, so to plug into Ethernet, my laptop lived on the counter beside the stove, and I sat on a kitchen stool to play Sea of Thieves. Don't ask me why I didn't think of getting a longer Ethernet cable, I don't know. I think I was an above-averagely stupid 19-year-old. I remember once my sister was hanging out with me and I could feel her Netflix and I had to be like, Megan, please get off your phone. I need to win this fight. I had just gotten my full-time position as a teacher assistant, so my life was get up at 5, let the dogs out, go to the gym with Julian, work until 3:30, walk the dogs, play Sea of Thieves in the kitchen until 8, then make my lunch for the next day and fall asleep watching Boxy Fresh VODs. Once a week, Paige and I would go out on a date, and once a week, I'd open some wine for my Boxy Fresh VOD viewings. At the end of 2019, the big cough happened, and a few months later, I was out of a job. Mostly. I still do video calls for lessons with kids, but Julian and I had an unhealthy amount of time to play Sea of Thieves every day. The clips stacked up, and in the summer of 2020, I made the decision that 1, I did not want to be a teacher, and would start business school to please my parents, and 2, that I was gonna use my $2,000 I'd saved working that year to build a PC and start streaming. At the time, I was going by Tony Stank online. I don't really know why, but it had started in 2018 when I played a ridiculous amount of Town of Salem. Then into Sea of Thieves, I went by Cap'n Stank. A real goofy name looking back on it, so I needed something new for my stream name. My favorite comic as a kid, and still now, is Calvin and Hobbes, a misbehaving boy with his stuffed tiger that he brings to life. Sometimes Calvin would zone out and daydream that he was an intrepid space explorer, Spaceman Spiff. I wanted to be Spiff too, but that was taken, so I needed some space-related prefix to go with it. I settled on Stellar Spiff, and that would be my name now if it hadn't also been taken. I think I also tried Cosmic Spiff too, but only Astral Spiff worked, so that was it. I moved in with my buddies Riley and Julian, started business school, and started streaming. Sea of Thieves streams 3 days a week, and horror games on Sunday. I'd always had a love for horror games, and my friends had enjoyed watching me play them in the past, so I figured it was a good addition to the schedule. My first ever stream was this alright game. I don't know how I found it. I probably Googled Best Horror Games 2020 or something. It was called Someday You'll Return, and my only viewer was an old friend of my sister's that she told I was gonna stream. He popped in for like 15 minutes, but not before I streamed a full hour with my mic muted. So my first ever video that I've left public of the stream is me replaying the first hour of the game and pretending that I'm seeing things for the first time.
Is that it? Yo! That's it? I beat the game. Okay, that's credits. Yep, that's game over.
One of my biggest issues as a new streamer is that I pretty much just tried to be Boxy Fresh, which is understandable considering I only watched him and saw him as the gold standard of streaming. I had a bunch of sound effects I'd play and music I'd try to smoothly insert to try and give an edited feel to the live stream. And looking back, it's cute, but it only really fit in Sea of Thieves, and even then I was pretty bad at choosing my moments. What I really did have going for me were my expectations. Low expectations. My goal was to basically scratch this itch I had for content creation and work so hard to prove that it wasn't a viable option to spend my time, so I could move on with my life to actual adult things. I gave myself 1 year to succeed or quit, and during that time I'd learn everything I could, set monthly, weekly, daily goals, and make as many good videos as I could, grow the stream as much as I could, work this so hard that after a year I could confidently say whether or not success was possible and move from there. My goals were partner on Twitch, so 75 average viewers, but in reality, more than that, and 1,000 YouTube subs, the minimum requirement for monetization. I'm real lucky that first year of business is, pretty easy. For most of my classes, I could finish the day's coloring book and move on, though man, did math ever kick my ass. I've talked about my tutor who would use his own mail as notepaper. For those who don't know, basically he didn't understand it either and also insisted on doing tests with me, resulting in fairly low marks. I hit Twitch affiliate in a month, which required 50 followers and a grand average of 3 viewers, which I supplemented by running my stream on at least one computer in the house, literally asking people in Sea of Thieves to follow me, and I made 6 Twitch accounts to get the last 6 followers and hit 50 followers within my goal of a month. A grand success. The follow goal was to make a rap song, so I composed a watery masterpiece, and it's alright. It honestly holds up okay.
So you may have heard from your own little bird when people play this game, Pirate Legend is the aim. And that's a great big shame, cause when you get that name, the game stays the same. It's all about the mind frame. My premonition says you don't even grasp the definition.
Thank you, Paige, for singing my cringe lyrics for me. Fun fact, I learned about YouTube removing botted views from the Pirate Legend rap. It got like 150 views in 2 days, and I was over the moon. But the next day it dropped down to like 40, and I was like, what? What happened? Turns out if someone buys botted views, the bots don't just view their videos, otherwise it's too obvious who bought them. My video had gotten hit with botted views, and then they were removed by YouTube, taking with them my small victory. And I wouldn't see triple-digit views for a very long time. Now Twitch affiliate, it meant that I could start getting subs. And I will never forget my first day as affiliate, with all my buddies subbing to me. I'm very grateful to them. They were just as broke as I was, but still supported my tiny stream. Colton is still subbed at tier 3, which is 25 bucks a month. And he holds the record at 53 months now. Then it's Riley at 51, my sister at 45, and her soon-to-be husband and my friend at 44. That first day was the peak of my number-related successes for a very long time. I was going hard. In my first month, I made 19 videos, which took anywhere from 2 to 10 hours to make, and I streamed 80 hours for those 50, technically 44 followers. In my second month, I only made 4 videos, but they were better and took a lot longer. Sea of Thieves Blindfolded, I Beat Slenderman. Credit to Julian for this one, he made it. Now 150 hours of editing, 23 videos, and 160 hours of streaming later, I think I had like 18 subs on YouTube. Most were my friends, And I remember a particularly frustrating moment when I looked at my roommate Rally's little brother's YouTube channel, and he had something like 200 subs from a 10-second Roblox clip he'd posted. In retaliation, I made a 50-second video making fun of the Halloween SoT update that did basically nothing but add pumpkins everywhere. In November, I had my first taste of making a video that people might actually voluntarily click on, a Sea of Thieves outfit tier list. What sucked is that I wasn't very proud of it. No one who watched it actually watched any of my other videos or subbed, so it basically served no purpose but to mock me for failing to achieve any similar success with videos I actually cared about. Years later, it would earn the title it now bears. Come December 2020, I would have another life-changing pivot. And all because of a singular chatter in a horror game stream.
Palms are sweating. Hands are shaking. Oh, fuck! Oh! Son of a bitch! Get quick scoped! Oh, I missed again! Oh, I didn't. Oh, it is gone.
I had slowly been going through Alien Isolation on my Sunday horror nights on Nightmare difficulty, and it was kicking my ass.
Can't the alien vent? Yes. Fuck.
My 8 or so viewers that were either my friends or people that I'd befriended in Sea of Thieves even had a death counter going, and it was over 200 by the end. Nightmare takes off elements of your HUD, and I spent the entire game thinking that absolutely everything one-shot you, when in reality I just spent the entire game at like 5% HP. Near the end of my playthrough, I was talking about how I'd love to get revenge on the Xenomorph somehow and beat it after being on the receiving end for so long. A new chatter suggested, what if I tried speedrunning the game? Beating it fast and deathless would absolutely serve to spite the alien for all the times it had killed me. That was my introduction to speedrunning. Sure, I'd watched that one Skyrim video that's the best thing to ever come out of GDQ, and I consumed plenty of Clint Stevens choking Mario runs, but what actually got me to try speedrunning was the idea that I could use it to get revenge on a game. Nice. The alien speedrun categories are a little goofy, and I ended up choosing the category that seriously tore the game apart without being this. Any % novice, CC only. CC being crouch clipping, wall humping. It was truly an odd introduction to the hobby. I had to use an FPS limiter program, learn how to use live split and loader movers, play in Italian, bind my scroll wheel to crouch, and learn a mouse fingering technique that's so niche I've never used it since. That has actually now changed. I used the mouse fingering technique for the hole digging speedrun. I gave myself 6 hours to learn the run and fell into the speedrun fallacy that I've come to know very well now. Thinking that you'll be content when you reach a certain time, only to reach that time and realize all the time save you still have. Going into 2021, I almost exclusively streamed alien speedruns, getting top 30, then 20, then 10, and realizing how unoptimized everything was and going for record. Essentially, the run was clipping through walls until you get a shotgun, skipping to mission 18 of 19 and beating the game from there. I found optimizations in clips and got a strat that was thought to be all missions flamethrower only to work with the shotgun. Another runner pushed the record a few seconds further, which kept me grinding the game a while longer, long enough to get real sick of the run. Specifically the RNG, luck. There was a lot of time save in getting very rare loot drops. There was clip jank, xenomorph jank, and two 50-50 hugger positions in the late game that you had to succeed both of in order to finish a run. So you'd lose 75% of runs after 15 minutes to chance. Still now, if you donate 101 bits to my stream, it plays a clip of me failing the second 50-50 on record pace.
Just please, one time. That's all I ask for. One time.
Despite all that, after a few months of playing, I got record by a whole 0.16 seconds. But I was damn proud and suddenly real deep into the speedrunning hobby. I held that record for almost a year. Now I'm 6th and they can have it. Looking back, it was really an awful run, but I didn't know any better. My YouTube definitely suffered during the early speedrun obsession until what is still my longest ever stream. I had some stupid incentive, probably something like, reach 200 followers and I'll do a 24-hour stream. Well, there's a reason I haven't done one since. The first 12 hours was meticulously planned flash game speedruns.
Oh, Mom. God, Mom. You gotta dodge that, Mom.
Sea of Thieves parkour speedruns, things that could be nicely edited into a video. Then you had the back half of the 24-hour stream where I just got sick and did really weird shit in Minecraft. This is a weird video if you want a Spiff oddity. I ended up needing to lie down near the end. It was so bad. Not having a reason to be up is terrible, which is why I'll never do another 24-hour stream, but I would do a challenge that takes near that much time, if that makes sense. I need to be up for a reason. February 2021 saw the release of Little Nightmares 2, still my favorite speed game of all time, and where I think my video and editing ability hit a turning point. Sea of Thieves wasn't working, and I was getting tired of putting insane amounts of effort into its videos for the last 6 months, only for them to be sent into the YouTube void. Did you know? This thumbnail took me and Julian like 9 hours to get. Turns out forcing a Kraken spawn gets substantially harder when you actually want it to happen. Anyways, Little Nightmares 2 was the first game I got to be part of pioneering the game's speedrun, and it's where I'd meet many speedrunners I still run into now. My channel at this time is full of unlisted bottle skip lineups that I'd upload to compare with other people as we worked out the best lineups to pull it off. And I think this was my first actually good thumbnail ever. Decent video too. You start to see bits of the Spiff that many of you know now at this time. This is a weird video, but essentially it's me making fun of people who made theories on LN2's story. The mockery of vague lore did not start with Security Breach. I made a glitch compilation in my first video that would actually get a lot of views. Years later, that is. None of these videos got any more than 100 views in their first year or so. You can see even my blindfolded Little Nightmare 2 run that ended up quite successful only had 600 views after 175 days. At this point, 7 months into my streaming journey, I had begun doing things that were interesting enough, relevant enough, and challenging enough for me to potentially see some success, but I just never did. I would run my beloved Little Nightmares 2 any percent for a few months and peaked at 3rd place, but content-wise, it had been another bust for Spliffo. I took a hard look at what I wanted to show the world and decided to try some challenge runs, since they worked really well alongside speedrunning, which I'd completely fallen in love with. My first challenge run was Bugsnax Jumpless, which was hilarious because after the jumping tutorial, there is not a single even remotely needed jump in the game. So it was basically just a playthrough. There's even a staircase that would have prevented me from beating this section jumpless, but also a ramp beside it. While streaming the run, I hit a personal rock bottom. Business school and I hadn't exactly hit it off, and I'd gone down to 2 classes starting the 2nd semester, then dropped them shortly after. I was a little too committed to my year of content creation with very little to show. Maybe 60 YouTube subs, and while I usually averaged 5 to 10 Twitch viewers, at one point playing Bugsnax, I saw my viewer count hit 1. And 1 means 0. I don't even know how to get 0 viewers. It like counts yourself or something. Anyways, 8 months in, and I had less viewers than I did on my very first stream. I sneakily held the power button on my PC so it would shut off, and told my Discord I'd had a power outage, which was better than dealing with the shame of ending stream, because I couldn't bring myself to be on when I knew no one was watching. Anyone looking at the VOD would assume that the power had just cut out. From that point, I turned off my viewer count while streaming, and I've never turned it back on except to occasionally check if I'm breaking personal records on big streams. This is something I cannot recommend enough. You need to get your head out of the numbers gutter. Especially while live, people can see the change in your demeanor. I still have stats I can look at after stream. I'm not ignorant to my numbers, but I never know how many people are watching me while live, and I would not have it any other way. Somehow I held faith in the challenge runs idea and finished Bug Snacks later in the summer of 2021, did an Alien Challenge mod, beat Dark Souls and started speedrunning it, got a Barbie game world record thanks to Julian wanting to play Barbie games for whatever reason, and gave Sea of Thieves one last chance to remain on the channel. I began the ultimate Sea of Thieves challenge, Pirate Legend Deathless. I don't know if I inspired it, but in years to follow, this idea would become one of the most popular things for SoT creators to take on. If you die at all, you delete your pirate and start over, with the goal of hitting level 50 in 3 trading companies for Pirate Legend. I say I doubt I inspired it because my rule set is different than the modern one, but whatever, I was the first to do it with Tony Alfredo, and I covered the journey in 2 videos. Fun fact, I actually did die in my winning attempt, but it was to a powder keg skeleton that was still underground when it blew up, so I let it pass as a bug. The reality was I just wanted to be done. I had played 2,000 hours of Sea of Thieves and was watching the last of its golden years pass, in my opinion. My Deathless Pirate Legend video was my last SoT video, and I've never looked back. It will probably forever remain my favorite game, but I feel like playing it now would muddy its memory with its stability issues, clutter, cheaters, and lack of purpose that I think plagues it so badly now. But back to early fall of 2021, it was time for me to enter my cringe desperation era. I had only a couple months left in my streaming year, and not Sea of Thieves, speedruns, music, or challenge runs had worked. So it was time to get funky. Me, Riley, and Julian had been watching a lot of Rav, a League of Legends content creator who was making really funny wrapped game commentary videos with a witty script and a text-to-speech voice over a beat.
Okay, so right off the bat we hop into the winshitter's point of view because this one doesn't even waste 2 minutes before slapping on his waiter outfit ready to feed all kinds of people, and none other than his fellow airbending brother is in line to be the first beneficiary of his stupidity.
Because of that inspiration, my next 5 videos would be the cringiest things on the channel. Starting with a video I've recently replaced, my Wii Tanks Wrapped Challenge Run.
Another anti-hero was my own eggs, because while the slow joes would shoot the shadow of where I just was, if I had laid an egg they'd play boom tag you're dead to your own mind because I shot it, so I emphasized the need I'd have throughout the whole game to time my egg spot.
I followed that bad boy up with a similar video based on Untitled Goose Game, which I'd really enjoyed speedrunning that month. Technically, these were a success, gaining over 200 views in their first week, but with that it was September 2021, and my year was up. It was time to face the music and check up on those goals I had made when I began. 1,000 YouTube subs? Try 201. Twitch partner? Nah, 6 viewer average, take it or leave it. I had streamed 1,027 hours and edited for probably about 1,500, giving me a truly remarkable conversion of 1 YouTube sub per 12 hours of streaming and editing. A successful showcase of failure, which to be fair, I had been going for, and now I had to decide what to do. I talked to my dad and he had some normal parent things to say about school, but then he unintentionally said something very inspiring and helpful. He told me that he'd also taken a year to pursue the goal of becoming an author, stopping after a year and returning to school. When I asked him if he regretted giving up, he said, maybe I could have done it if I gave myself more time, but at least I was able to put my author skills to good use in what I ended up doing. My dad got into journalism and his career was in the news. What this meant for me is that I suddenly saw a way for me to have my cake and eat it too. Do both things I wanted. I could continue focusing on content creation because now my overall goal would be to become a professional video editor. doesn't make much sense to walk away from skills you've spent a year developing, so that would be the career I'd go after. I needed a regular, no certifications job to make ends meet, which would come in the form of a dog food cutting job, 25 hours a week. But from there, I could begin building an editing clientele until I could get full-time gigs somewhere and make editing my main source of income. I started by reaching out to streamers I knew who were better off than me and got set up making shorts for Zach and Cheese, who played various PvP games, Duran SD, who speedran Terraria, and did a couple one-off jobs for other people. I made well-researched video applications for creators I looked up to, but didn't get anything that could get me out of the freezer with my bandsaw and my dog food. I even made profiles on websites where people look for editors and got 2 jobs from them. One where I had to lie about knowing poker terms and ultimately got fired after 2 videos.
The small blind calls and we call in the big blind. In most circumstances, this is just going to be a fold pre.
And one where a few college girls scammed me into making them a semester highlights video, which they never paid me for. During this time, I put out 3 more cringe wrapped videos on my channel. A SpongeBob horror game playthrough, Alien Any % tutorial, and 1 Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 speedrun tutorial. I'd only played the game because Riley told me to, and only joined the speedrun community because many of my Little Nightmares 2 buddies were in it. Views for this game were insane! There was a few-week period where you could shit out a Poppy glitch compilation and get 50 million views, it felt like. Unsurprisingly, my strange, vulgar, spoken word Poppy video did not reach that audience, and a few days later I found myself experimenting with some Chapter 1 skips. I thought something along the lines of, if only bad videos are getting views, maybe I'll try making one of those. And spent 15 minutes flying around the chapter showing off stuff I found interesting for an out of bounds video. Little did I know I had, for the first time in thousands of hours, come up with a video that was relevant to people, had something unique, and was presented in a way that people actually wanted to watch. This is the first of a series I've kept up for years now, and months later would be my first video to break 100,000 views. When I posted it though, it only did marginally well enough to convince me to stop wrapping my videos, which was a huge blessing for both my workload and also the aging of my content. Now November 2021, I got fired from my dog food job and was not making enough money editing to sustain myself. So I was on a bit of a timer to when I'd run out of money and needed to get more clients or actually make my first pennies from my own videos. That firing was brutal. I think I was fired because I worked slower than my boss wanted and did a subpar job cleaning the machine. In my defense, I was not trying to lose a finger and think I worked perfectly fast, but admittedly, I wasn't amazing at cleaning. Cutting meat with a bandsaw is brutal, because obviously it does need to be squeaky clean after every day, but man, that thing had a million little spots where meat chunks would get stuck. I'm not built for perfect cleaning jobs, but really, I tried my best. My boss told me that they had just too many people for a slower season, but I think he was lying. Either way, meat bosses, if you're watching this, things worked out, and also I ate so many of your granola bars you had in your office. I know you let us occasionally take one, but there were days that I actually subsisted on like 6 chewy bars from the office after my shift. So really, you owe me nothing, and it was a pretty good job. And as long as I'm apologizing, I'd also like to apologize to True Edits, who edits for Boxy Fresh. Once I was getting my hair cut and she asked me what I did, and I told her I edited videos for people, and she was like, oh, who do you edit for? And wanting to not sound like a broke loser, I told her I edited for Boxy Fresh and my name was True Edits. So my apologies, I fully impersonated you. Now, I'm sure you understand though, I just needed to not look like a broke loser. It's all a mental battle, and your name gave me a win that day. Thanks.
Oh, you lucky.
Okay, I'm literally shadow playing this. Bro, oh my days. Bro, yeah, I sniped you 3 times.
Right now, what? Oh, yeah, only one of them hit me.
Okay, but I'm getting off.
Now into October 2021, I'd gotten to around 400 subs. So doubling my first year in a couple months, but still well off monetization. Everything past this point, whether or not it did well, I look back on fondly. escaping the absurdity of my previous ideas to gain traction, and instead just leaning hard into my increasingly odd interests. I thought I'd be the only one who cared that they left a factory sign up even though it would never be seen. But if people actually wanted to see the things I was so emotionally invested in, then I'd be happy to showcase that. It was a lot easier to stay motivated too when I was excited for people to see what I was cooking. And this is where things started falling into place. I was pissed that someone was getting attention for cheating the speedrun I was so invested in, so I shot it down hard in my next 2 videos. There was a red hand skip I struggled with, so I covered that. And I saw comments talking about how the huggy chase was so hard, so I beat it blindfolded. I spent a lot of time moderating speedrun submissions for the chapters, so I made a video showing off all the goofy submissions we got. Then I spent 50 hours over 1 weekend making a summoning salt type video on Poppy's record history, because it was the only time off I had between streaming and editing for my 2 consistent clients. There was something coming, and I wanted to be ready for it. Something called Security Breach that all my Poppy speedrun buddies were excited for. I hadn't heard a sniff about the game until a month before it released, when someone showed me a website with a countdown for it. I had no idea what to expect. My only FNAF experience was getting scared shitless by FNAF 2 when I was like 16, then playing 1, 2, and 4 on stream in early 2021, and getting frustrated with backseating chatters trying to explain lore. All I knew is that I wanted to speedrun it right off launch for another experience like Little Nightmares 2, but I still had a couple things to finish. Since I'd beaten the huggy chase blindfolded, the next step was the entire game, and I'd spend hours mapping out every input I needed in order to beat it on a sheet of paper that I then practiced and memorized off stream. I pulled it off only a couple days before Security Breach's release on December 16th. I'll never forget, on the day before Security Breach's release, I had to finish the blindfold video and also my biggest video ever for my one client, Durin. I spent all day working on the blindfold video and finished it around 7 p.m. Then I locked into a 16-hour editing session to make Durin's video in one night. I worked all night until about 8 a.m. on December 16th. Still my longest editing session to date of about 25 hours straight. And little did I know at the time, my last ever client video. I slept until about 4 p.m. Got the blindfold Poppy video out, and Security Breach released like 7 p.m.-ish that day. Only about 10 people saw my first playthrough of Security Breach, and the VOD doesn't exist anywhere. What? I died in Freddy! Game is broken. But I only played until the showtime sequence before abandoning it to work on the speedrun route, when we realized that you could just walk to the Vanny ending and roll credits. The next day, I got the first sub-30 deathless run, and I remember waking up after posting the run and seeing that it had gotten like 16,000 views in a couple hours. There's this feeling I'd always had that my greatest aspirations were forever out of reach. That in spite of my greatest efforts, there was this invisible barrier between what I strived for and reality. But when I saw that video doing well, for the first time ever, I saw that barrier weakening. At that moment, it was go time. I had like $300 to my name, 1 month from going into credit card debt, and just hard committed to showing off all the goofy quirks this new, strange FNAF game had. On the 18th, Julian's subpar computer showed that the game could be beaten in 5 minutes, and I immediately got a video out on it. Then the next day, I covered a handful of serious issues the game had, and many of you know how things proceeded from there. What you might not realize is the extent of the attention I started getting. I wasn't just getting views on my Security Breach stuff. The past 15 videos from the last 4 months all started blowing up at once. All the Poppy videos that now have 1 million views had only a couple thousand when Security Breach released. It was like YouTube suddenly realized I existed, and people who found me were binging the entire channel. On December 18th, I made my first 4 cents from YouTube, and by Christmas, I was showing my dad that I had made like $11 that day. I immediately reached out to my few editing clients and let them know that I would likely need to step away from working for them, and they wished me luck. But I didn't need luck because I had the power of obsessing over every single detail of Security Breach. I quickly learned all of its rooms from an out-of-bounds perspective and stayed up to date on what skips were happening in every category. For so long, I'd felt like there was a thick barrier between me and YouTube's success. There was just no way this would ever work. But little did I know, I had been making videos deserving of eyes for quite some time at that point. I'm not a very emotional guy, but I remember popping the hell off once while driving home, knowing that I had this insane opportunity to go home and work on a video that hundreds of thousands of people would watch. I had the surreal experience of going from 30 to 400 live Twitch viewers in a week, and I'll never forget watching everyone's spam excitement in chat when I pulled off the sprintless DJ Music Man chase. Between December 16th to January 1st, I went from 1,000 to 20,000 subs. And that was only the start. The sprintless videos, Gigamonty, playing with Easy Speezy, who'd later become a good friend, Security Breach Jumpless. January 2022 saw still the greatest sub growth I've ever had, gaining 90,000 subs in that month alone. For a non-shorts channel, that's insane. Little high right now. I had been a couple weeks from needing to get whatever job I could to pay rent when suddenly I was able to do my favorite thing full time. The first thing I did when I got paid was buy Paige a drawing tablet as thanks for allowing me to cook and also for all the free art she'd done for me over the years. If you didn't know, Paige drew my profile picture. And now, she's made my new one as well. Shortly after this video goes live, I'll be changing my profile picture to better match the origin of my name, Spaceman Spiff. And because I wear my hat backwards now. Be sure to give your compliments to her excellent art in the comments. It had taken about 2 years to go full-time in a month, which marks the end of part 1. I actually debated just splitting this video into 2 parts or omitting the entire second half. At this point, I had the foundation I needed to eventually reach 1 million. Now it was a matter of nurturing my audience, myself, and expanding the operation so I could have a functional community, moderation, channels, and workflow. The next part is less exciting to talk about, but so much of it is very worth talking about. So I'll do my best to make it interesting. Coming up on 4 years of full time. The only hard part of January was everything that wasn't streaming or editing. There were growing pains of needing chat mods and having actual rules beyond be cool. My sound effects would become unbearably spam. And people could donate as little as 10 cents to have stream text-to-speech, which would get abused. And my small but loyal community I'd had from the Sea of Thieves days didn't really know how to handle such an influx. Pretty much everyone from that time has moved on now because my chat just wasn't what they were used to anymore. The guy who made me the bet that would result in my Gigamonty tattoo, Luna who made my channel point icon, Toxic who is the only actual moderator of my chat, and a few others. Someone who did stick around was Ben, and to this day, he works for me managing my VODs channel. Many random people really stepped up to help me deal with the influx on Discord and Twitch. I met Pepsi at this time, who now fully manages my moderation, and noticed Cherryfire when she made fan art of me, who now does my drawn thumbnails whenever I need. It was an insane month that had me switch from 4 to 3 streams a week that I still follow now, because I'd found a quality of video I liked, and it required at least double the amount of time editing than streaming. I spent basically 100% of my time on my channel and had some problems to go with that, like ordering food too often and becoming super anxious that there would be catastrophic mistakes in my videos. So on nights that I'd post a video, I would stay up until 3 to 7 a.m. just rewatching the video over and over until I was so confident that it would be okay, and they would always go live at 7 a.m. so that I could sleep through the first few hours of them being live and not watch the views climb from 0. I've thankfully now gotten over this anxiety and only review my videos once before they go live, but I still always post my videos at 7 a.m. my time. I do think it's a good time for a video to go live, but I also much prefer looking at a video's performance a few hours in. The top comments are usually established at that point, and I get a good read for how it's doing. Really just a healthy way I've found of going about it. All in all, everything was going great.
She's back there. Now she's back there.
But starting in February 2022, I had a looming sense of fear. I was utterly afraid of getting stuck with one game. When I started streaming, I had gone over a year wishing to be able to play Sea of Thieves full time. But when I finally left the game and it entered a rough patch, I paid attention to some creators who had realized that goal and watched as they too now tried to leave Sea of Thieves. I watched them lose between 70 to 95% of their viewership over that switch. Sea of Thieves is an island like no other game, and I will gladly fight this point. What game can you even switch to that has any resemblance to the Sea of Thieves experience? No other pirate game is similar or even very good, and PvPvE games in general are few and far in between. The closest thing is maybe Rust, but it's just not similar at all. And don't tell me that Welland does it because he's a main Rust with side Sea of Thieves. That's different. Rust was where I watched some creators go and they stared down a 70% drop. Boxy Fresh has never left Sea of Thieves. Gotta be over 6 years now that he's still playing the same game full time with the same shirt and the same hat. He may be slowly losing his mind, but it's impressive that he stayed committed to one game for all this time. That's just not me. Especially with Security Breach being a single player game, there was only so many things I wanted to do with it. In February, I still had plenty of ideas left, but I needed to start showing people that they could keep watching my videos after they too lost interest in Security Breach. My genius ideas for this included looking at 100-hour no showering Minecraft speedruns, peeling raw eggs, that was an odd one, definitely lost some of my damage deposit there, and starting a Minecraft server in which I encouraged people to get along by building wangs. That's your YouTube guru right there. People kept wanting me to try other FNAF games, so I played 3, didn't really like it, played Sister Location, but then Pizza Sim and the clown video.
It's too easy.
Fruit punch
you know,
for everyone.
I'm a professional clowner.
It was March 2022 now, and things were going downhill. Security Breach wasn't novel anymore, and I'd gone from gaining 90,000 subs in a month to 10,000. This was still great, but I saw that downward pace as a sign that I might not have a long-term thing going here if I didn't bring something fresh to the table. This stupid video with this stupid clown was one of the most important videos I've ever made. When you post a video, normally it spikes on the first day, then goes down significantly from there. But the clown video spiked twice. Once when I posted it, and then a couple days later when people went, wait a second, this video kind of slaps. The clown video marked the first time since Security Breach's release that I captivated the internet with a different game. And it solidified the channel as something people wanted to come back to. I'm not kidding when I say that the clown video prevented my channel from slipping back into obscurity.
I don't think the king. Okay, I don't think the king's gonna give us anything, guys.
If we don't get 5,000 the last 2, then we're screwed. I'm not gonna soft reset. Sure, it was still FNAF, But that didn't matter. There is so much you could do with the series. Having a video show that I could make an entertaining general FNAF video unlocked a 10-year backlog of a dozen games, hundreds of fan games, and so much unrealized challenge potential within the series. I really couldn't have asked for a better series to get quote-unquote stuck with, because Pizza Sim was the tip of the iceberg, and it unlocked several years of content I could make that would give me lots of wiggle room to try other things as well, and just broaden the scope of what I could make entertaining videos on. I've heard from a number of people over the years that FNAF is apparently hard to move out of with content. That channels can't make videos on anything else because they think FNAF is on a content island. I just think that couldn't be further from the truth. First of all, FNAF is connected to literally every other indie horror. From there, you can connect it to general horror games, to survival games, and I've been able to connect my audience to whatever random stuff I run into, with most of that audience originating in FNAF. Sure, some people still only watch my FNAF stuff, but they don't complain when there's a significant gap between those videos. What I'm saying is that some people do not understand what a real content island is. FNAF is like high-quality downtown real estate in a busy city. Not alone. Poppy Chapter 2 came out in May, and I really enjoyed that speedrun, so many videos came easily as I just showed off the funny stuff I ran into while pursuing speedruns of the game. In June 2022, I rented a little place all by myself, and the year I spent living there would quickly become the most grassless, unhealthy, terminally editing year of my life. It was a one-room place, so my bed was in the same room as my desk, and I probably spent 95% of the year in that room. Maybe more. Paige would come after work some days, but she had long hours and would fall asleep pretty quick. Then I'd be back to the computer. I went out once a week to visit my parents and get some groceries, but I did an embarrassingly large amount of ordering food. In general, I know I tend to put on blinders and hyper-focus on goals, ignoring everything else. But the year of June 2022 to 2023 was the worst. Thankfully, this is when I first recruited Connor. He started by helping me on top of his other job, so I only had him cutting up VODs, not editing. But that removed so much mental strain that allowed me to continue working for 60 to 80 hours a week. I got into FNAF fan games, occasional security breach stuff, continued series, and slipped into variety content whenever something piqued my interest. In 6 months, I gained like 25 pounds. I'd always been quite athletic, so this did not feel good, but it was tough to get out. My mindset was that everything went well when I spent all my time editing and streaming, so the idea of going to the gym was not appealing when I could spend that time editing instead and be rewarded for it. I know that's quite a hot take, but...
28 cells.
Once I read 215 on the scale though, I decided to get a personal trainer at the gym. I'd gone to the gym for years, I didn't need coaching. What I needed was someone who'd kick my ass if I didn't show up. I didn't fix my eating habits, so I wouldn't actually make that much progress, but I'd stem the decreasing health quality that I was subjecting myself to. 2022 ended with discovering the absolute banger that is FNAF World and Choo Choo Charles, gaining the second most amount of subs ever in 1 month with 50,000 in December, and finishing the year at 420,000 subs. Almost halfway to the goal of 1 million that I now held. I've always found it interesting when creators hit 1 million subs and they say, I never thought I'd hit 1 million. Because I mean, obviously they must have seen it coming at some point. Maybe gotten tipped off that they were gonna hit 1 million when they reached 990,000 or something. I realized they were referring to before having success with YouTube, but it still sounds silly to me. 1 million subs never crossed my mind once before 2022. I wasn't sure I'd ever hit 1,000 subs. But then when I did hit 1,000 subs, I was certain that I'd hit 1 million. It sounds cocky, but it really was like, okay, it took me 2 years to understand how to reach 1,000 subs. Now I just gotta replicate that success 1,000 times over. I had no belief until 1,000, but 1,000 gave me the belief I needed for 1 million, if that makes sense. And going into 2023 with almost 500,000, nothing was gonna stop me from making content and growing to 1 million and beyond. It was just a matter of where I took my channel. I went through the last mainline FNAF game I hadn't played yet, UCN, beat 5020, and did the goofy blindfolded run. If you're wondering why I never made a sequel to that, it's because adding any of the few characters remaining required so much automation to work. It was basically becoming a tool-assisted 5020 win, which was just a lot less appealing to continue. With that though, I could do my first Fnaf marathon, which is probably still my most viewed video as of now. This series was such a good idea because it meant that even if I ran out of things I wanted to do with mainline games and Fnaf videos became less frequent, I would always just be able to sit down and spend an entire day playing every Fnaf game normally, shooting the shit with Chad, and be able to scratch people's itch to just watch a ton of Fnaf. At this early 2023 point in time, there is a noticeable drop in Fnaf videos because I'd gone through all my mainline backlog and done so many ideas that got me excited along the way. I started branching out a lot more to other horror games and personal, almost childhood goal challenges. With the stability I'm so grateful that the channel brought me, I finally locked in and proposed to Paige, romantically decorating my garage and baiting her to go in with music. She said yes, which marked the end of my crazy, locked in, no life, poor health, no social activity year. The invisible wall does follow the water line quite well. A little too well in spots, like here. Like we're gonna have to walkies him all the way around this way. Good boy. What did I just join in on? Walkies. When it comes to goals that are fairly hard to achieve, I am a big believer that you have to go a length of time with an unbalanced life. My early 2022 to 2023 grind is no different from crazy classes or a business startup that consumes your life for up to several years. But I do think that at some point you need to step back, look at your mental, look at your social, physical, and go, okay, my YouTube channel will not disintegrate if I go on a walk today. You see that all the time with YouTubers. I've watched so many quit because of burnout, because they just let it go too far. I'm sure they also have the mindset of, as long as you're making videos, things will go well, but there's a limit to that. I'm not sure where it is, but I don't plan on finding out. Not having work hours controlled by a boss is probably one of the most challenging elements of this job for both ways. No one forces you to actually put time into editing, learning Photoshop, brainstorming ideas, but also nobody stops you from working. In fact, you are always rewarded for putting inhumane hours into content creation. Your channel will be at its best when you are at your grossest. And that goes for all self-employment ventures. Even during my insane grind year living alone, I only had one 17-hour workday a week. My big editing Mondays. The other 6 days would be 6 to 12 hours. That might still sound a bit crazy, but I could have done more. Going to the gym 3 days a week knocked out probably 10 more work hours I could have been doing, between travel recovery and getting tired quicker those nights. However, I know for a fact that I would not still be on this platform if that was still my life 2 years later, even with the gym. 1 year was great. I developed skills and systems I could move forward with. 2 years like that, and I'd be seriously unhealthy and probably quite burnt out. 3 years, and I would probably hate everything, everyone, and never want to make a video again in my life. I only speak for myself, but I was carried by the excitement of learning new things and starting to stream for the first year, then had ungodly imbalance for about 1.5 years once I'd gone full-time with my channel, until getting engaged to Paige. Since that point, I've slowly inched closer to a much more comfortable 40 hours a week-ish. I've been cooking, I've enjoyed hobbies and time with family and friends. I never hit my limit. I've never suffered with very serious burnout, and I credit that to Paige for forcing me to slow down here. May 2023, Paige and I bought the small house we now live in. And also, I stole Connor from his job, and he became a significantly larger part of the channel, handling the majority of many videos. The system we switched to that we still use is I tell him how I want a video done, he'll do it and send me all relevant media files so I can make any changes I want to the video, adding intros, any narration bits, and making many small changes before shipping the video. That's why there was never any noticeable change on the channel when I started pursuing a small amount of health. Connor picked up my slack really well. And he got paid more than his old job did, so honestly, huge W's all around. Paige had never lived the up until 4 a.m., rarely leaving the house lifestyle I did, so living with her kind of forced me to fix myself. It's thanks to her that I'm never gonna crash and burn and disappear without a trace and drop an uncomfortable video where I say, hey guys, I've pushed myself to the point of ruining my passion for everything and I never want to stream again. I do still love to occasionally pull unreal hours to get a project done, but since Paige life, I've only pushed myself to the brink of death for a few videos.
Me and Paige have been doing some real nasty stretches. Weird way of putting it. Me and Paige have been doing very helpful stretches.
I approve of this last message.
It has been very good because oh god, it's not gonna get any better. My hips are rather stiff. Stretches are good for you.
I don't want to gloss over the next year, but it was really just good. The release of Ruin was a lot of fun. September 2023, I posted my currently second last security breach challenge with the golfing perfect score. That was fun. Tabs was an awesome mini-series. Fears to Fathom continued to be great. People even enjoyed my cooking video. Not even a video game. Imagine that. Lethal Company's release in late 2023 was probably the next significant turning point for my channel, because the genre it created has taken an equal role to Fnaf now. My Q10 video is probably my top 4 proudest videos I've ever made, which is like my whole shtick, so it meant a lot. I know people will now immediately be curious what I think my top proudest videos are, so I made a playlist for it. There's a lot of videos on it, yes. They're all very important to me. I started 2024 with 780,000 subs, down from the 400 gain I'd had in 2022, but that did not bother me at all for the same reason that I don't want 10 million subs, which is the next YouTube recognized milestone after 1 million. I would like to continue entertaining these same people. Introducing my videos to new audiences is still essential because people naturally stop watching as well, but I want people to be able to return to my channel years after leaving it to find that it's still something they can enjoy. I will change. My stream personality is my real one, so things will change as I age, but you'll age too. So my goal is that videos still feel the same, even though we'll both be different people. Too much growth beyond where I am would mess with that. I don't want 20,000 live Twitch viewers because I wouldn't have the same chat relationship. And I don't want to be stuck playing mainstream games to ride hype for a huge YouTube audience. I much prefer the niche oddities I come across and become passionate about. Such as two of the main games of the channel's 2024 year, Peaks and GTFO. January saw me unwittingly begin both. Peaks was supposed to be a one-off video on a tall mountain, and GTFO wasn't supposed to be that hard.
Oh, there you go.
Perfection right there. Peaks presented this shockingly insane challenge with Tempest that I'd later take to another level by learning to speedrun it for my first live speedrun event, where I'd meet a number of creators that I had only occasionally chatted with prior and been in a few online events with. The GTFO series was a fair amount of mental gymnastics on my part. The first video did great, but editing it was hell and I wanted to progress quickly, putting out part 2 just 4 videos later. The second video did awful at release, and this is where my mindset on this series totally changed. I went from wanting to breeze through it to thinking like, okay, very few people care about GTFO, so I'm gonna use this series to try new things and improve my editing in order to force people to care. It was a great series to use for this because any success the videos saw would be a direct result of my efforts. It wasn't a game that I could get views for minimal work. Only my absolute best could salvage this series from looking like a stain on the channel. In my opinion, part 3 was noticeably better than 2, and it showed, with part 3 hilariously doing better than 2. I don't know why people would watch part 3 and skip 2, but a lot of you did. Content Warning then owned me for a while like Lethal, and Post Head stood out being my only ever simultaneous gaming challenge. I will not be doing another one anytime soon. That was nuts. Cuphead, that is. Oh! Oh! I love sneeze. GTFO 4 remains the only one that stands out with remarkably poor performance, but that's okay. I was actually pretty damn sick of the seriously hard editing that came with it at that point. Knowing it wasn't actually the end of my 4 perspective editing hell felt gross. And seeing it do poorly properly fueled me with a burning desire to knock the final part out of the park and make it my best video ever from a structure and editing standpoint. I guess I didn't mention, but Connor has never helped me with any GTFO video. The series was my 2024 baby because I did 100% of them. Connor gave me the liberty to have this ridiculous passion project. Being able to take a break from editing to finish off a video that was 90% done from him is extraordinary. The man really deserves a lot of credit. Any video that doesn't have much narration is mostly edited by Connor now. I have solo stuff I do constantly, obviously I stream, and I also step in heavily when a lot needs explaining, because obviously Connor doesn't read my mind, and if he doesn't know the game, putting together a video about an intricate challenge gets a lot harder. If you're ever curious about a video, credit is always in the description. I rarely mention thumbnails, but most are done by me. If Connor gets inspired, he sometimes makes one that I don't always take, and probably 80% of the thumbnails are made by me. Into summer of 2024, the channel hit 900,000 subs. 100,000 remained, and sub growth slowed down a lot. I had to stop myself from checking numbers too much because willing them to rise doesn't actually make them go any faster. I had a lot of random anxieties that like the world would descend into chaos right before I reached 1 million, and I imagined myself like wandering the desolate world trying to find computers with people's YouTube logged in and subbing them to me until I reached 1 million. Thankfully, I had distraction from my absurd dwellings because I had a wedding coming up. My wonderful-to-be wife had stepped away from her job and was able to do the vast majority of planning, but it basically became her full-time job. Wedding planning, especially if you plan on doing a lot of homemade stuff, is insane. But the result was a wonderful wedding that I'll forever remember, and after 7.5 years of dating, Paige stuck with me through some real, uncertain, arguably stupid decision-making and insane grinds, so nothing excites me more than being able to have her at my side forever. Returning from our honeymoon is when I finally allowed myself to start feeling like 1 million was coming, at about 960,000. To prepare, I had to need to tie up some loose ends so I could properly feel like I had concluded this journey. One of which was Wii Tanks. My video years prior on beating it without shooting pissed me off, because it had honestly been the best content idea I'd had up until that point, but I totally butchered the execution with my weird rap style and letting myself off too easy on the challenge. So I remade that video specifically as a way of fixing my past mistake. And my other was, of course, finishing the now year-long GTFO series. We beat the final mission in November, and starting in late December, I would begin my single most intense editing grind ever. More insane than Blindfold Poppy plus client video, more insane than my 50 hours over a weekend on the speedrun history video, more insane than any single point in my year-long zero sunlight grind. Over the course of the next 40 days, I would devote most waking hours to making the most in-depth video my channel has ever seen, totaling about 320 hours. Not for views. If it did average, I'd be thrilled, but for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to prove that I could make something most people didn't care about interesting. And because how perfect would it be to have my last video before 1 million subs be the one I was most proud of ever? Remember, that's my whole shtick. I never stayed up insanely late like I used to, thanks to Paige keeping us on a good schedule, and she kept me eating well too. Grinds feel a lot different when you have someone lovingly caring for you. I commissioned more art than I ever have, and set up my first ever video-specific merch. For actually no traceable reason, sub growth became insane in January 2025. So my initial expectation of hitting 1 mil in early March turned into early February. And Paige and I quietly watched it tick over 1 million on February 9th. I wouldn't get the final GTFO video out until the 15th, but I actually finished it on like the 5th and just ended up waiting on some merch stuff. So for me, I had tied everything up, and that night the sun would set on a grateful Spiff universe.
Okay. 11 objects. Don't even leave.
Coming back. I killed myself. Leave.
Well, that was an efficient day.
That's a day.
You could submit that for death percent, maybe.
How it felt? You know, I guess the issue is that I saw it coming from a long ways. It wasn't like an insane clutch suddenly propelled me into an emotional victory. Like, I had watched this number climb every day and celebrated the anticipation of winning a lot more than when it actually happened. I was actually thrilled to find out that it didn't leave me with a huge sense of emptiness. I've heard plenty of like, never get everything you want because then you lose all purpose in life. And I was kind of worried that I'd lose all motivation to make videos. That didn't happen. I felt content, excited to get my cheaply made YouTube award, and relieved to just no longer have the stress that something insane might prevent me from getting there. Hitting 1 million subs made me feel free from numbers. Who cares if in the next year I grow to 1.2 or 1.6 million subs? It doesn't matter. I already hit 1 million subs. So now just making good videos is even more than before what matters. My passion remains, my stubbornness remains, and I'll continue to branch out while still returning to things I did 3 years ago. Guess I'm just kind of ready for the next thing, but not in a rush to get there. Unfortunately, I will not be able to get the ant farm until Paige and I get a larger place, so that's a ways off. So far in 2025, I've met a lot more content creators and made more friends, so I've been doing a fair amount of group challenges, but really I've just gotten myself into a position both personally and professionally that I'd like to maintain as long as I can. I don't know how long I'll do this, but what I do know is that the last 4.5 years of my life have been my favorite. And as cheesy as it is to say, thanks for being a part of it.